going on, everybody? So if you're looking at the A-liners, there's not a whole lot of information out there. I spent about a year looking at campers, small, here in eastern Oklahoma, up on top of a small mountain, and I needed something to get in a tight space and some not so good roads, and I ended up with the A-liner, and gonna do an honest review. I've had it for 4 or 5 months now, and there are some negatives and there's some positives, but there's not a whole lot of information out there on these on the internet. So we're going to talk about it today with my experience and compared to the other kind of campers that I looked at. So let's get started. So what we have here is a 2021, I think it's Columbia Northwest or something like that. This is the A-liner Scout, and this is the Extreme Off-Road Edition. Off-Road Edition includes a heavier axle, all-terrain or mud-terrain tires on a nice-looking wheel. Here's one not covered in mud. Kinda clever mud-terrain. They're kinda clever, whatever. It's a good little tire. Seems to be doing all right. Not quite extreme off-road. It only says off-road on the side, but on the actual build sheet for this one is the extreme off-road package. So that has a torsion axle. So that leads me to my first kind of complaint. This is pretty rural out here. This is my land. I've got a pretty muddy drive over there. And I've been camping the rooftop tents and stuff like that for a couple years. I had a designated kind of overland trailer. It was a home-built unit that I had a tent on for a while. And to me, extreme off-road is what it says. But it just has a standard 2-inch ball receiver, very short. Just to turn around down here, I had to jackknife the trailer, disconnect because it doesn't have a long enough tongue. My overland trailer had, I think there was at least 5 feet between the front of the trailer and the back of the truck. It had an extension piece. You could put a universal type joint hitch on it to actually articulate and stuff on trails and things like that. And this is not good for that. So if you're looking for something small and off-road worthy, there's still reasons why I picked this over other things like, say, a Sunray 109. I really like that. The size was perfect. I had a 4Runner at the time, and that was my pick until I actually saw one in person, and they are very, very poorly built. Everything was just particle board and just screwed together, and it was just a box on a solid axle. Not a lot of good reviews that I'd seen on YouTube, and even some of their other units, their numbers are weird, but the 119 or I don't know. There were some bigger ones that were a little bit better, but they were still built the same, and it just didn't seem like it was going to hold up well. At least this with the torsion axle, and we got decent tires, it's somewhat off-road worthy, more so than the rest. But the main reason I went with the A-liner is its construction. So everything on the body is aluminum or composite. All the panels out here are composite, aluminum edges. We've got some plastic stuff, of course, but the inner fenders are galvanized steel. So it's built a lot better, but it's still not built to the standard that I would. I mean, I build stuff every day. That's what I do on my YouTube. It's what I do at work. Fit and finish, not where I would like to see it, but it's built out of better materials. So I think in the long run, this is gonna hold up a lot better. So since I couldn't get in my normal camping location up here, I had kind of camp out here by the road. So I didn't get a good video of me setting it up. It is very easy to set up. It does pop up into place. This unit this is pretty much a base model. The only options it has is the off-road package. It has 4 stabilizer jacks. It has the Dometic heat pump and Cool Cat air system. And We'll get to more on that here in a little bit, why that's a disappointment. And it has the high wind braces. Now these mount up here. You can see it's just a heim joint, and you pivot it down here and pin it, and that helps keep the top up in case of high winds. When you go to take it down, you pull that pin and swing it over here and clip it on this side, and it all folds down like normal. Just kind of an extra added brace. I haven't really seen a need for that yet, but the place I bought mine, they put that on all of their units. They order it with that option, as well as the all four leveling jacks. The leveling jacks are really handy. I'm not gonna lie, I've already messed up one of mine out here, but yeah. So it does have solar ready. It has an inverter. It comes with a battery. We've got a battery box up in the front, you can see there. Mine came with an interstate battery. I don't know how they do that at RV places. The toolbox is not included. I added that. That's a cheap Harbor Freight one. It's very thin and not amazing, and I can barely get the key in with the battery box lid on. But it was the only one out there that would fit in the space allotted. The chassis for the trailer does have a brace across there, so it's bolted through the bottom, and works pretty well. It does have one hub brake, and we have the emergency brake pull on there as well. It does have a 7-pin, so it will charge while you're driving, which is nice because this one has the parks package, is what they call it. And they're very vague on their website about that. And the place I bought it didn't know much about them. They had a bunch of $25,000, $30,000 ones, and they had 2 of these. These are 15.8, 15.9, somewhere around there. And again, if you're looking at things like the Sunray, they're 10 to 12, depending on where you go. Drastic price difference. Those have a full kitchen. They seem like a lot better deal, but I just wasn't impressed with the build quality. It was so poor. I mean, I had one, I was in it. I didn't have it, but I went to the place, I was in it, ready to buy. And yeah, just walked away and waited another few months, did more research, and ended up with this. All right, so walking down the side, you can see we have our solar plug, our ZAMP solar ready system. I haven't yet to try that out yet. We've got Dometic vents for our refrigerator. Down below here is a drain outlet. You can see the sign. This does not have a water tank, so that's one of the big confusion points. The Scouts do not have water tanks. The place I bought mine told me it did, told me it did all this other magical stuff, and yeah, when I went to sign all the paperwork, we found out it didn't actually have it. We've got standard RV hookup, and that's really, you have to have that to use any of this electrical system that this thing has. It does have the battery, but it won't power any of the 110 outlets. It won't power the air conditioner or the fridge. It basically just powers the lights and the fan. It has a fantastic fan and a roof. You have the fresh water connection. You hook up water to that with pressure, and you do have your sink, and you just have to uncap your drain it somewhere. So if you're in an actual park camping, a state park or anything like that, it's the perfect setup for that. But for off-the-grid rural stuff, you're gonna have to have a generator. And for that, I'm using a Champion 2500 watt. I didn't need the inverter, but I wanted the quiet, and it's a lot smaller and lighter than a lot of the other ones. So if you want to know more about that, comment below, and I could do a video review on that. It's been pretty good. It does struggle a little bit. I've got a 110 adapter on there. I really need a bigger generator for this to do the AC and the fridge at the same time, but we're making it work. So A-liners, a lot of the differences on them are the bump outs. So you have your basic A shape that pops up, and then they have a version that has where the dormer windows are on the ends. They're basically a Lexan or some kind of plastic. They have actual pop-ups. Some of them have canvas sides, some of them have hard sides. Canvas ones are more expensive than this, hard ones are more expensive than that. Gets you a little bit more headroom inside. It's not a super super big deal for the price difference, but most of those units that have that are significantly more expensive, or at minimum of $10,000 more expensive than this one was. Another kind of bummer deal with this, I mean, it has a manual jack, but you can see mine is covered in mud because trying to climb back in here. But you have to take the wheel off for transport. Just need to crank that up a little bit higher. But yeah, it's kind of a pain. Put this on and off. Box, I keep my cable and everything for my inverter and just some random stuff. But this is the most valuable thing you can get. I'll have a link to these below for the Amazon store. I use Makita everything, but being able to just throw this on here, crank this thing up and down, it's fantastic. Makes it quick and easy. Again, that little toolbox was pretty much junk. You can see the lid's twisted. I scraped off some of this seal in the inside, and I put some actual weather stripping in. That made it even harder to seal, but it actually does seal now. That was a $100 toolbox, trailer box at Harbor Freight, so can't complain too much. So another kind of disappointing thing with the Extreme off-road package, you can see my tire is bowed out quite a bit. It's barely clamped on there. They just welded a block to the rear bumper and clamped a generic tire mount. It really needs to be up about 8 to 12 inches because it drags on everything when you're going through articulation and going through washouts. You can see I've folded my rear mount down. But all right, to the entrance side, you see we've got our vent for our Dometic Cool Cat AC and heat pump. It's mediocre at best. Running it off the generator, it would probably, honestly, out here, it barely got over 72 today. It took 2.5 hours to even feel cool inside. Not the best. And it's kind of you got all the storage underneath the bed, and that eats up a lot of that space, but you know, the main issue I've had so far is water. So the first time I took it out, I was coming back home and it started raining on me, and I got water all in the front, and I believe it is coming in here. And this gets to some of the fit and finish issues that I was talking about. All this is just silicone. There's silicone stuffed everywhere. Once you close this flips out real wide right here. And I think the spray off the road coming off the truck was just blowing in and running down everything. So it took me a couple days to get everything dried out. But you know, a brand new camper ticket on water didn't leave me all warm and fuzzy inside about it. But again, we've got these giant windows here, which again are roughly siliconed. You see some humps on the edges and stuff around it. Not the best looking work, but it does not leak up there at least. And we've got our fantastic fan with a little wind deflector. This side does have the brace as well, the high wind support. I don't have that on this side, just did one side because, you know, I didn't really need it. So by the entrance door, we've got a double leveled step. This is very uneven ground. Having all 4 of those jacks did make it very easy to level this thing. I've got a little, it's supposed to be a stick-on level for RV stuff, but there's really not a good flat spot to put it on this thing. So I just kind of set it on top of the battery box once I get somewhere and eyeball it from there. The steps, hard to keep clean and they're rusting already. Not the highest quality component. The main problem I'm having is the door. So the door is 2-piece. You can see the seam right here. Sorry, I'm getting stabbed by a stick over here. And you can see up here, it's bowed out. And this is all composite, aluminum frame. It's all siliconed everywhere. Just again, the fit and the finish. Now, they did add a provision inside for that, which we'll look at here in a minute. You see it bows out a little at the bottom as well. So you don't really get a good seal unless you're inside and you can latch the secondary latch. Do have one exterior light on this one. I did swap it out to an LED, trying to conserve battery. I would like to swap it out to a clear lens, but honestly, it's not bright enough to really matter. It does help when you have to come out here in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, but not super bright. There are other options. I would like to actually mount something up top. There is space inside of there once it all folds up. And I'll give you a good look here once I get back home. That's the opening procedure, because I'm gonna have to open it all up and clean it. So this side does have a sliding window. It does have curtains and everything inside that are sewn to fit. We have a larger window on this side, slides to open as well. You can just see how much those rear windows bulge out. When you're sitting at the dinette in the front, you can actually sit in there and your head be kind of in the window comfortably. And I'm 6'3", and it actually fits. And that's another pro for this thing, is if you're tall, there's actually room to stand up in most of it, and I can actually reach my arm up to 9 foot basically in the middle and not touch the ceiling. So that was one of the things with the Sunray 109. I'm not super claustrophobic, but it was kind of claustrophobic. The bed in that was only, what was it, 6 foot, and I'm 6'3", so it was kind of, it looks like cramming in a sardine can. Wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world. All right, so let's go inside first. I mean, this is 4 months old. The door seal, it's spaced out and just siliconed, and whatever other material they had to use, they used. Inside of the bottom, you have a door seal. Lots of warnings on this thing. You got a piece of weather stripping all the way around. Here is the other latch. So you have to basically pull that in front of the side piece once you're inside, and yeah, kind of lock it. Your door does disconnect, so you can just shut the bottom, have the top open if you like bugs. All right, so just inside, we got a fire extinguisher. It does have an LED floor light that is very bright. See, I'm using an old truck floor mat to get all the mud off my shoes, but I've swept this thing out 15 times this weekend. So there's the headroom. There's our fan. We got a smoke detector. You can see the latches on the sides. That's how the side locks into the roof pieces. Some on this side as well. These windows do have screens that slide up. This one is open, and they are heavily tinted, so it does help limit the heat. You see I've got the curtains closed on this side. I've got them open on this side. They do have Velcro to hold it in place. All right, so now we've got the door latched. You have to really pull on it to kind of tuck that over the weather stripping. It's not fantastic, but it does seal up better. It has these rubber pieces for when it lays over. The sides do fold down, and then the top comes out on top of it. These are our latches. They are not the best fit and finish, but it does work. And this is not completely airtight up here on either side. Interiors, basic RV wallpaper, but again, we're not going over particle board. We're on top of composite panels, so they are lightweight and they're not gonna rot on you. All right, so we're in here with no lights on. We have that light there, and we have one right behind my head. I do have a auxiliary little LED lantern, which is fantastic. Those are inflatable. They're solar powered. You just lay it in the dash of your truck or car while you're going places. And yeah, it's actually charging up there in the fantastic fan right now. This side we have a dinette. The cushions need addressed. It does have decent quality cushions. The vinyl's not great, but it's not terrible. But it does need some kind of Velcro. If I didn't have that bag there, this would just fall over. And it's kind of annoying when you go to sit down, and yeah, it really needs to be at angles because nobody sits straight up and down. But I think that'll be an easy fix. I've got some industrial Velcro. I think we're gonna put some strips along here and up here. Maybe we can just lock it where we need it to be. But it is comfortable and it fits my needs very well. Having a space and a table where I can work on stuff. You know, I do all the RC car content. So being able to come out here and have a place to work on stuff. There is storage underneath these seats. Again, not super easy to get to. You kind of have to really take the cushions out completely. I can show you some of that. I've got extra blankets, heated blanket, survival bag, air mattress, stuff like that on this side. I'm not gonna be able to get it back in now. We've got the same storage on the other side as well. Down here we have a 110 outlet. The most inconvenient location. We have a 12 volt socket where I have one of these little meters I stick in here. We're actually down a little bit right now. It's usually around 14 when you're on power. Again, not a good location because you can't use it while the cushion is in place. Table breaks down. There are slats underneath right here. There's 4 of them. Lay across, table fits up against those, and you can make a bed out of that side as well. The cushions are not bad. This fridge, this is the fridge that doesn't like to be cold. It's kind of gimmicky. It's got the little freezer. It's got whatever you're supposed to put there that won't be there when you get to wherever you're going. This keeps popping out. I put a 2-liter in there and it just, yeah, won't stay. But I haven't made any ice with it yet. Magic chef. Won't be any magic happening. The way that's sealed in there is kind of eh. But the laminate countertops, they are they're very thin, save weight, which I understand. The sink is actually pretty nice. It's a plastic unit. I have yet to actually try it. When I bought this camper, it was right at the beginning of the snow ice apocalypse that we had down here in Texas. And that brings us to the air conditioning issue. All right, so before we get there, underneath the sink, we've got a shelf. I've got my buddy heater, and I keep my portable camp toilet in there. I got this little thing off Amazon. It doesn't really fit the cabinet well, but kind of works. And our controller for our Dometic heat pump and AC. And then we have a GFCI outlet. Over here on the cabinet by the door, it's basically just a place for the side to set when it folds in. But inside I've got dude wipes, which I'm trying the first time this trip, and I got my Jackery 500, and that thing is awesome. That's what I use to charge everything with, all my electronic stuff. This is not as deep because you have the wheel well up in there. I've got outdoor lighting and some pots and pans and stuff I've never used. I'm a single guy. I don't do a whole lot of cooking even when I go camping. So this side does fold into a couch sofa thing, and again, the back is not, nobody's gonna sit straight up and down. So the cushions and stuff just, but they had to have enough cushions to fold into a bed. That is a queen size sleeping bag, which is the first trip I've had with it, and it is fantastic. That thing is amazing. It's a Teton. I'll have a link to that below in the Amazon store as well. I've never had a nice sleeping bag. That was a sleeping bag I've had for the last so many years, 3 or 4. It's a Coleman from Walmart. This is Teton Sports. This thing is freaking amazing. It's just so soft. We got down to about 51, 52 last night. And I actually slept in this morning because I did not want to get out of bed. It was just so warm, and every time I'd lift the edge of it back, it's like, no, I'm gonna stay. So this has this piece here. This slides back on top of everything back there. They're the same cushions that we had on the dinette. Pretty well built. This actually pulls down to lock on a tab once you push it all back, so it doesn't rattle around and fly around while you're driving. I'm really not gonna move it because I leave it in this position because I need a bed and I need a place to sit. Then I don't need to change that because I'm usually camping by myself. So we have two ducts here. Those are, there's a tab that hangs on, but those are our air conditioner and heater ducts. There's our heater vent, and we have a return vent over there. A little bit of space. It's hard to keep anything in there. I put a case of water in there and drove up here, and the case of water was over here when I got here. So yeah, it's impossible to keep this thing clean. I got this little broom and dustpan, but like I said, I've swept it enough today. So yeah, there's a lot of storage on this side. This side is basically a gigantic window unit underneath the bunk. There's a little bit of space in the middle. There's ductwork and things that go to that. So it's not shy on storage space, but you gotta take it into consideration because everything in here is gonna get bounced around like crazy. This is a pretty rural area. The road getting up this mountain is very rough. I think best I did was 25 miles an hour, and it was just beating me to death. And everything was in a different spot when I got here. I haven't even looked underneath this side. I have my Jackery solar panel, rechargeable panel for that Jackery 500. I hope it's okay. All right, so the big issue with the air conditioning system is I bought it at the first week of the Ice-mageddon, Snow-mageddon, the big giant winter storm we had in Texas, and they couldn't get it to work. And come to find out, it will not work. The heat and the AC will not come on if it's below, I think, 40 degrees, 42, something like that. So it's basically useless. You have a heater that you can't use when it's freezing. It's not the most economical system. I mean, to even be able to use it, I've got to burn gas. There's just no way around it. I would rather be able to go all solar, but you've seen some other videos on YouTube if you've been looking at A-liners. The Slim Potato Head, he has a lot of A-liner content. I watched some of his stuff. It didn't really answer a lot of the questions I had before I bought mine, but yeah, he's put some solar on it and stuff like that. And that's ideally, I want to be, you know, I don't want to have to deal with the generator and the gas, and you know, I got to go out here. My truck's stuck in the sun right now, so I have to vent my gas can every couple hours or it'll explode. Just not fun dealing with all that. But yeah, this thing, I don't regret it. After all the negative things I have to say, I don't regret it. And again, some of the fit and finish stuff like this doesn't close all the way. These screws are all at different angles, and just, you know, I mean, I build stuff, so I kind of expect a certain quality, but you don't get that with RVs. That's the realization that I've come to after a year of research. RVs are all poorly built. You just want one that's built out of good materials, I guess. And like I said, I'm 6'3". I can't reach the peak. This thing has a tremendous amount of space. I mean, I'm side to side, I can barely touch each side. You get a lot more space, really. Usable space. You can stand up in it. Those Sunray 109s and stuff like that, it was, you know, you're sitting on the bed and my hair was hitting the roof. It was just wasn't working. So all that being said, I think I made the right choice. It just, I mean, for the same price or less, I could have gotten a nice, fully, you know, one with a stove and everything and all that, but I would not have been able to take it to where I want to go. And that's what it all boils down to. There was another one I looked at. It was a Wolf Pup 12cc or something like that, a cozy couple. And I mean, it was amazing. It had a 4-burner stove, it had a microwave, it had a fridge and a freezer, had a separate toilet, and it had all this stuff. And it really wasn't much longer than this. I think it was 2 feet longer, and it was about as tall as this, but it didn't fold up. And it had a single axle, and I measured the ground clearance. So you've got to think about that if you're going to do overlanding or anything like that. That the first thing that would have ripped off on that would have been the toilet drain pipe. It's like, that's not what I need to have on the highway, is a leaking black tank. If you get, that was the deciding factor for me, was I want to do stuff away from everything. I don't necessarily like people, so I want to be out in the boonies. I've got this land up here. I want to be alone, maybe one day with somebody, but just want to be out in nature and experience everything. And the standard RV style travel trailer is not going to get you there. You want to go to state park on a weekend with your family? Yeah, that's why there's so many of those fifth wheel and giant 30-foot long bumper pools and stuff like that out there, because there's a huge market for that, and that's, you know, that's a different lifestyle altogether. I'm having problems with this cushion, no lumbar. But if you actually want to go off the grid, extreme off-road, it's not extreme, but it's close. This is more along the lines of what you'll need. The Sunrays are cool. Pop-ups, or not pop-ups. So that was another thing too, to compare standard pop-up campers. I was looking at used ones, because everything during the pandemic was impossible to find. And pop-up campers, even 1-2 years old, all the canvas is saggy and just looks like crap immediately after you buy it. And, you know, it was like, I found one that was used, it was 2 years old. I mean, it had a cooktop that you could take in and hook out on the side and cook, or cook inside. Did all this cool stuff, had a toilet that slid in a cabinet and everything, and had the pop outs. He had 2 basically queen-size beds on either end. And it was like $12.9 or something. And it was 2 years old. It was immaculate. They said they'd used it twice. And the canvas was sagging already. All the sides, you could see it was just hanging. It's like, it just seems like it's not a good design. It's a great concept, poorly executed. And just finding them, even still, small campers are impossible to find. And like I said, the place I bought this from didn't know anything about it. They mostly dealt with giant fifth wheel campers and stuff like that. You know, they 2 or 3 bathroom campers. And yeah, they told me a lot of stuff about this that it didn't have, but I went through with it anyway, because it's the closest thing to fit the needs I have. Things I want to do, I'm making payments on this. I didn't pay cash for it. I'm not made of money. But I would like to replace the air conditioner with something more efficient, something a little more viable. I don't know what that option is. I haven't done any research on that yet, because honestly, I've had this since February. It's now June, or May 30th. So something to think about with that. The refrigerator, very inefficient. That thing, I ran it all day yesterday. I had it plugged up at my house, and it got cool, and I had drinks in it, and by the time I got here, 2.5 hours, it was not cold. They had no retention at all. And the tongue of the trailer, I need to add something on there. I need to cut off the 2-inch ball receiver and weld on some kind of receiver end, and get one of those kind of universal joint couplers that you see on some overland stuff, because that really, the stuff I'm doing, I need that. I'm dragging my spare tire off and bending my jacks just getting up here. But the main selling point with this, and why I went ahead and bought it, is the composite. It's not cheap particle board like most all campers are made of. And I feel like I'm preaching here. I don't know why. But that's just my 2 cents. You know, I did a lot of research. I'm just sharing it with you guys. You know, knowledge is power. get as much information as you can before you make a purchase, make a decision on what you need. Know what your needs are before you make a purchase. And that was the main thing. Had a rooftop tent on a trailer, and I bought this land up here, and then I realized I'm not going a whole lot of places anymore, so I need something more that fits this need. And I put the rooftop tent on my truck, bought a nice rack, and had that, and that worked for a while. But then I realized, I'm up here filming YouTube and all that stuff, so having a place to sit down, edit video, or do this, do that, work on cars and things like that, having a little more space was nice. Having a separate bed, I didn't have to fold my table into a bed. It made a world of difference. But that's it for this. My honest review of my A-Liner Scout. And if you have any questions, comment below, and I'll do my best to answer them. I want everyone out there to get out and enjoy nature and whatever that means to you. So if you think this might fit your needs and you have questions, let me know and I'll answer them best I can. But I'm running out of daylight, and I've got all of this beautiful wilderness out here to go hike around in and have some fun with. So tread lightly, enjoy life. See y'all next time.